faith, family, business, adventure. This is the Phoenix Podcast with Ken Sharpe.
Good morning and welcome to the Phoenix Podcast with Kenneth Sharpe. We here at the podcast showcase people who are unique, exciting and interesting. And we always identify those people that come from nothing because like the phoenix, they rise from the ashes. Today on my show, I have a special guest who I wanted to introduce you to, Keith Ndlovu. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure.
It's a privilege to have you. And not only is Keith a medical doctor, but he's an aspiring artist. And today he's got a wonderful story that he's going to share with us. So get us started, Keith. Tell us, where did all this begin?
This began 28 years ago in Wange. This is right at the teapot end of this country. That's where I grew up. I did my primary school there. I went to Coalfields Primary. And right from the beginning, I've been an academic, you know. I was always serious with academics right from the beginning. I don't remember ever being outside of the top 3 in class, right?
Amazing.
From grade 1 all the way up to Ep.6. So
a genius, a prodigy.
Not really, a hard worker. I'd like
Hard
to say
worker.
I'm a hard worker. Yes. So that's where it began, and then I went on to Falcon College in Eskodini, Matabeleland South, and that's where I did my Form 1 to Form 4. And then I remember in Form 4, my family experienced a financial setback, and there was a lot happening at home. So I dropped out of school
That
during
must have
that
been
time.
tough.
It was. I spent almost a year at home, you know.
Not going to school.
Not going to school.
After having finished Form 4.
Yes, after
Done
having finished.
O-levels.
Yes, done
And I'm sure you
O-levels.
did exceptionally well.
Somewhat, yes.
Somewhat?
Yeah, I
Because I
did
believe in
well.
A-levels you did 4 A's and got 4 A's.
Yes.
Amazing.
So when I was out of school for about a year, I then, by God's grace, the school that I was at, Falcon College, then gave me a scholarship based on my grades to come and finish off A-level.
A financial
Right.
scholarship.
Yes, a financial
Full bursary.
scholarship. Full bursary, yes. And I'm really, truly grateful to them. I don't think I've ever gone back to say thank you, and I'd just like to use this opportunity as a thank you to them.
Thank you, Falcon.
Yes, and then I got four A's. I was studying mathematics, physics, chemistry, and biology. Got all A's, and then went on to the University of Zimbabwe. So I got another scholarship to study medicine, which I then completed in 2021. And during my time at university, that's when I began my art. And I'm really grateful to God. You know, He's come through, you know, at every point where I was my most desperate. And, you know, it wouldn't be okay for me not to acknowledge Him and just say thank you.
You've heard it. God comes through at every point
He
in
does.
our lives when we need Him.
Definitely.
So tell us, how did this art come out of you? Did you just start experimenting? Did you have a revelation? Did you have an epiphany? What happened to you? What made you...
I had a vision.
A vision?
No, I'm joking.
What happened?
I always had an interest in art. I remember even in junior school, I used to love art as a subject. But then along the way, I became more focused on the sciences because I wanted to be a doctor. And then I forgot about the art completely. And then in mid school, I think I was in my second year, 2017, about 6 years ago, I just started drawing again. I just found myself, during lectures, I found myself drawing the person sitting in front of me. And then one day, a friend of mine, she's also a medical doctor now, asked, why don't you charge for this work? Why don't you take this seriously? Because you're really good. At first I brushed it off as, where could it lead to, what's the point? And then I just decided to go for it. Right at the beginning, I was charging $5 for a portrait. And most of the people who would order from me are my classmates, my friends, and family,
How big were these portraits?
Oh, they were small, A4.
That's a bargain for
A3.
$5.
Yes, it is. No, but I think at the time it was worth that price.
Right.
because I've improved immensely since then. So I think that was what the pieces were worth at the time.
And what were you drawing in? Crayon, pencil?
No, it was pencil. So I work with charcoal pencils on paper. So
That's your speciality.
yes, that's what I decided to focus on. Yeah.
Right, so we're going to come back to the art story, but let's go back to your parents, to your upbringing. Tell us about your youthful, formative years out in the coalfields in Hwange. Tell us something, share with the audience something they can relate to. How was life then, and what did your parents do? Tell us about your siblings, your friends.
Yeah. So my dad is a mining engineer. So and my mom at the time was a housewife, and there was 4 of us. I was the second born of 4 children, and I don't like to say it, but I think I was the favorite child. You know? So whenever they sent the other kids in the family, you know, they'll say, no, leave this one alone. Maybe they saw something in me that I hadn't seen, but yeah, so I was the favorite one, and I was very naughty. I was going through my report cards the other day, and I was going through the comments from the teachers and the headmasters, and almost all of them said he's doing well in academics, but he must work on his behavior right from grade 1 all the way to grade 7. So I've always been a loud, rowdy student. Yeah.
So do you feel you've got away with things that perhaps you might not have got away with if you were not favored?
Possibly. I haven't had the time to think about it that way.
Let me ask you a question. You know, Clayton Christensen, I often talk about him on the show. He wrote a book called The Innovator's Dilemma, and he's known as the father of innovation. So he's a Harvard Business School professor. And in his latter life, he wrote a book called How You'll Measure Your Life. And in it, he talks about bringing up our children. And he says, what our parents do for us is not what makes us, but it's what they don't do for us that makes us, which is a paradox, right? So that oxymoron, how does it relate to your upbringing and what your parents did or didn't do for you?
Well, I think it is very true. For me, it's especially true during that period I said I dropped out of school. I won't go into the details of it, of what was happening at home. But I was pretty much left alone, in a sense, you know.
So you had to grow up?
Yes, I had to grow up very, very early. And I remember I actually wrote to the school, you know, on my own. Yes, I wrote to the headmaster. I called him, and then, you know, he, by God's grace, he then approved it.
Isn't that amazing?
So if that hadn't happened,
where would you be?
If I wasn't thrown into the deep end early on in life, I don't think I would be here, because it taught me confidence, you know, it taught me endurance, you know, it taught me, you know, to make a plan when the situation calls for a plan.
So you don't just rely on your parents for handouts, and you don't expect things for nothing. At some point in life, you've got to get up and do it on your own.
Yes.
Depend on yourself. Be confident in yourself. Believe in yourself. Talking about belief, so coming back to your faith, you mentioned God a few times.
Yes, I did.
Share with us, what is your faith in?
I'm not the best Christian. We're all sinners, some more than others. But I believe in God. And like I said, God has come through for me at my most desperate state, you know. And, you know, whenever I achieve something, whenever something big happens in my life, you know, I know it's God. You know, it's a feeling and a conviction that I have deep inside me that, you know, God is there, and, you know, he cares for us, and he has a plan and purpose for all of us.
So faith is having hope in things we can't see?
Yes, absolutely. That's the meaning of faith.
It's the essence of most religions.
Yes.
So with you, as a young 16-year-old, you couldn't see where you were going, dropped out of school, a year at home. What did you have hope in, and how did you get to see where you were going to go? What did you think you would become?
Well, I sort of always, whatever I did, you know, whether it was sport, I used to like playing soccer when I was younger. Whether it was soccer, academics or anything, I always made sure to give it my 100%, So at the time, I knew I was good at books, I knew I wanted to be a doctor. So that was my hope, and that's what I was working towards. I didn't ever think I'd be known for my art,
So at what point did you know you'd be a doctor?
I should think at Form 3. At Form 3, when you have to choose subjects, you have to lean towards a certain area. I knew I wanted to be a scientist, definitely. Lower 6, I think I wanted to be an engineer, like my dad.
Right.
And then I think upper 6, I then sort of started falling in love with health, and then I guess that's when I started wanting to be a doctor.
So being a doctor is not a joke. I believe it's 13 years of study. Tell us the journey. So what happens?
It's 13 years to become a specialist in a particular field. So to become just a general doctor, a GP, you have to go to medical school. Okay, first you have to get the points, OAs. That's the prerequisite, yeah.
All doctors have OAs?
99% of them, yeah, pretty much. And then you go through interviews for a place in medical school. I was at the University of Zimbabwe, so I went through interviews, I made it. And then you go through 6 years, 5.5 to 6 years.
Of study.
And it is the most difficult journey ever, and then afterwards you then do 2 years of housemanship. This is working for the government. I'm currently working at Parinyatwa.
So this is like an internship?
It's like an internship, yes, and that's what I'm about to complete. And then
2 years?
2 years, yes.
Is that your payback to government?
Yes, pretty much. And then after that you do another year in government. So it's actually 3 years in total.
3 years.
And then after the 3rd year, they then give you your OPC. They then give you the stamp that you can go out in. Yeah, that's then a GP. So to become a GP, you have to go through almost 8 or 9 years.
9 years.
Of education.
And the 6 years of study is hard graft. How many hours a day were you studying?
I remember lectures would start at 8 and then finish at 5 almost every day for 5 years. And then when you get to 3rd year, you sort of move to the clinical years. And during that time, you start interacting with patients, doing ward rounds until lunchtime. And then in the afternoon, you go for lectures. So it's a lot. You have to want to be a doctor to become a doctor.
Respect doctors out there listening in. This is something serious.
And I actually failed one of my exams, my final exams. I failed my pediatrics. And I remember for somebody who's never failed, it took a lot to convince myself to keep on keeping on. I then wrote my supplementary exam.
So was that a humbling moment?
It was, very much.
Why do you think, what lesson was there in it? Why did it come?
I think I was... I didn't give it enough. I didn't give the exam the attention it needed. Funny story, at the time I was into mining in Sharpe. So
I have roots in Sharpe.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So being a Zimbabwean, you have to do multiple things and make a plan. So I was into mining at the time, and I remember a few weeks before my exam, I was in the bush because we had workers there, including my younger brother who was at the mine. So I spent 2 weeks there before my exam, which was a mistake. I shouldn't have done that. And I think that's what diverted my attention from the exam. Hence, I failed as a result. But
so was it gold?
It was gold.
So the luster of gold, young people, is not always as bright as it seems. So yeah, coming back to the art, so you're now a doctor.
Yes.
You're in med school. You discover you have this talent that's hidden. You start doing some portraits for people. What then happens?
Well, the journey started 6 years ago, and I just put in effort into it. I was deliberate about improving my craft. As I said earlier, I'm someone who, when I do something, I want to do it to the best of my ability. So that's the same with the art. I just kept on improving myself and watching videos and going to exhibitions to see other artists' work. And inevitably it got better. 6 years ago, I used to charge $5. Now I charge much, much more.
So we'll come back to how much the art costs, but I'll share with the audience how I got to meet Keith.
Yes.
So social media is a good thing because it gets us out there, we get publicity, we generate interest, and I don't always reply to people on social media, but I don't remember, it was a post I saw of yours or something got my attention, and I reached out to Keith, and I really liked what he was doing. I think it was a lion at the time, right? It was a lion, the Shumba I saw. And his gift for wildlife art is something unique. It's something I'd never seen before. And I was really struck by it. And I said to myself, no, I have to either meet this guy or get something from him, order something. So I actually commissioned him for one piece. I remember the male.
Yes, the male.
Female. Was it the female or male first?
It was, you bought the male.
The male, right.
And then you then commissioned the female.
So the male was, you had done it.
Yes.
And I'd seen the male.
Yes. So, funny story. That was the biggest piece I had done at that time, and it was of a lion. So I did the piece, posted it. So usually when I post work, within a week to a month, it's bought by somebody. But this one was pretty big and pretty expensive, and I kept it. It stayed with me rather for about a month, and then for some reason I'd always been following your speeches and your work, and I thought maybe let me just send it to Mr. Sharpe. I might get lucky, he might like it, and you did. And I was actually shocked because I remember I sent you a message on a Friday, and then you said come through to the office on Monday. If it's as good as it looks on picture, it's a sale.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It was sold.
It was sold.
So we're talking of thousands of dollars a piece for this art, and I believe it takes like weeks, sometimes months to produce this.
Yes.
It's not an easy task. And if you see the quality of this work, and I'm going to post it on this video, you'll see what I'm talking about. This lion, it's just so striking. Its eyes, it's almost like a photograph. I mean, I don't know how you do it, Keith. It's just an incredible talent, a gift from God you have.
Yes.
So when I saw this lion and I bought it, I knew that we had to have the lioness. And the reason for the lioness is because we at Westprop believe in focusing on our goals, goal execution. And I love the lioness because she chooses a target and she goes after that prey relentlessly, not being distracted by anything coming in between her path. She keeps her eyes focused on that prey until she either kills it or loses it. So why the lion? Tell us about your interest in lions and what you think of them.
Well, I watch a lot of National Geographic. I love lions because they're powerful. As you say, they're focused. And they look beautiful. And also, these are animals you find in Zimbabwe. And I'm somebody who's very patriotic in a sense, and I always try and make drawings of animals that are found here in Zim. So I think that's why I like lions, and I think that's why I did that piece in particular. Yeah.
And they are the king of the jungle.
Yes, absolutely.
So coming to animals and totems, you in Ndlovu.
Yes, I am.
You the elephant.
Which means elephant,
yes.
in Ndebele.
And Shona is Nzo?
In Nzo.
Nzo?
Yes.
So I believe I'm in Nzo as well, because my wife, who's fortunately with us today in the studio, actually always says to me I'm an elephant.
Yes.
Because I have thick skin and I don't get affected by what people say or do. And I have a long memory, I can keep going, I don't stop.
Yes.
So I really love the elephants.
So we're brothers.
We're brothers.
We're
from
related.
the same clan, right? So tell us about the totem and your culture. What does it mean to you?
Well, to me, I was somebody who we used to go to the rural areas a lot, and I would in Wange. So my rural area is in Wange, and there are lots of elephants there. And to me, an elephant is a gentle giant, you know. And though I'm small, I'd like to think that I'm eventually going to be a gentle giant. You know?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And I think I also have a tough skin, come to think of it. A lot of the times, some of the pieces that I do may not be liked by certain people. And especially on Twitter, I usually get a lot of insults and bad energy.
People are
and
heartless.
it takes a lot, you know. It takes a tough skin to, you know, to ignore the noise and just focus on what you're doing and focus on your assignment. Yeah.
Well, I think you're doing brilliant work. And I'll say something about history, because I want to believe that you've taken ownership of your culture, and it's something you'll pay it forward. Your children, are you going to teach them about your totem, about your culture, about where you come from?
Absolutely. We are Africans, we are Zimbabweans, and totems are a very big part of our culture. And I'll definitely make sure that I remind them and they are aware of you know, their background, their culture, and their totem.
Whenever my daughter leaves, I often say to her, never forget where you come from. Never forget who you represent. And never sacrifice your values for short-term gains. So coming back to the story of Keith, the artist, what is your hopes of the future? What are you currently working on? What are some of the things that are exciting you?
Well, currently I'm working on something big, or the biggest project I've done so far. And it's a series of portraits of heroes of Zimbabwe, you know, men and women who contributed to the struggle of our country and the region. And it was a project that was commissioned by His Excellency, the President.
Wow.
And I'm grateful to God for such a big opportunity. Funny story. There is how I met the President. There's somebody, a very amazing person, you know, who ordered a piece from me of a lion. Funny enough, because our president is a Shumba. And then this amazing person then took the piece as a gift to him. This person is a big supporter of my work, and then they decided to gift the president a drawing of a lion. And I am told that the president loved the piece, because I remember I was driving in town one day and I got a call, and I was told that I'm being invited to guest house, to state house. Sorry. And
so this person gave the gift to the president.
Yes.
And the president was so happy and so impressed with the gift, he actually phoned you and said, "Come to the state house to see me." Okay,
so
that's serious.
To me, it was a shock. You know, I thought I was dreaming, but I went there. And I'm really grateful.
So you met the president?
I did.
And he said he loved the lion?
Yes, absolutely. He said he loved the lion, and he was interested in supporting me and supporting my work.
Isn't that great? So he saw the talent you had?
Yes, he did. And it's amazing. It's truly humbling.
So he's given you this commission?
Yes.
And tell us, how many pieces, how big are they?
So I'm doing 30 pieces.
30 pieces?
30 pieces. 15 of them are going to be of heroes, men and women who contributed to the struggle. Some
names you can tell us who they are?
One of them is the late president, Robert Mugabe.
Right.
Then afterwards, I did one of His Excellency, the current president.
Yes.
And then after this one, I'm doing Joshua Nkomo,
right.
The father of Zimbabwe.
Yes.
And then after that, I'm going to do Mbuya Neanda.
Okay.
So what I plan to do with that piece is, we don't really have
a picture
clear,
of
vivid
right.
Images of Mbuya Neanda. We have the statue,
yes,
right, and we've got some pictures we see on the internet, and they're not very clear.
Right.
So what I plan to do is to recreate what she looked like, or come as close as possible, at least.
That'll be interesting.
Yes, so I'm really looking forward to that piece. And then I'm also going to do Josiah Tongo Gara and 10 other pieces.
Right.
Yes.
And how long will it take you for each one of these pieces?
So each one of them will take about 2 weeks.
Okay.
So to complete the entire project, it will take me 30 by 2, 60.
Yeah.
Almost 60 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Over a year.
Over a year.
Almost 2 years.
Over 2 years almost.
If I'm not mistaken.
And where are these paintings or pictures, where are they going to go?
they're going to the new Parliament building. So it's an effort to commemorate, preserve, and honor, the heroes, the wildlife.
Wildlife as well.
Well, we're doing wildlife as well. I'm going to do the Big Five. I'm also going to do the significant monuments, the Great Zimbabwe, the Victoria Falls, and they're going to hang in the new Parliament building, probably in a corridor, so that as people are walking in, whether it's school children that are coming for whether it's school children coming for a trip to the new Parliament or it's parliamentarians, I just want it to serve as a reminder of our culture and who we are.
And how big are these pieces?
They are 2 meters by 1.5, so life size.
Life size.
Yeah, they're pretty big.
So you'll have these life size images, people walking down the corridors, and these timeless pieces from Dr. Keith will be staring at the people as they enter the Parliament, the capital, the new capital of Zimbabwe.
Yes, in Mount Hampton.
So how does this make you feel?
Wow, I think it's an opportunity for me to record my name in history, in a very small way, but it's a significant way, for me. As just a boy from Matabeleland, I'm making pieces that are going to hang in one of the most special locations in the country. So for me, on a personal level, it is humbling, and it just makes me believe and know that I'm living my purpose.
I love that, humbling. It reminds me of Madiba. He said, Madiba faced a lot of challenges in his life.
He did.
And he said, don't judge me by the number of times that I fall down, but rather by the number of times that I get up again. And I think what's important to realize in life is those humbling moments of falling down. They can either break you or make you. And in Madiba's case, they made him because he got up stronger from them. But when we get up and we rise again, I think it's important to remember from where we come.
Exactly.
From that position of having fallen down, typically on your knees, right? And that's important in life. As you become successful, as you become a celebrity, a well-known individual, to be grounded, to have that spirit of humility. And I see that in you, Keith, and I respect that. I really honor that. I want to honor that today. You're a great person. And
also, maybe to just add on that, there's usually people at those particular periods in your life that help you to stand up. And you should never forget those people, because, had they not been there, you wouldn't be where you are right now. Because a lot of the times we like to think it's your own doing, but almost always it's somebody who plays a hand, at that time.
That is true. There's another saying, when you're climbing the ladder of success and you're going up, don't forget the people on your way up, because when you fall down the ladder, they might be there to catch you.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah. So don't let celebrity status get to your head. And for the message out there, our population in Zimbabwe, as I mentioned the other day, under 25. So you're in that category, you're just a year older than my daughter, but you're in that generation. 65% of the population is your age.
It's a big proportion.
It's a huge number of our population. And there's a lot of people out there in need. There's a lot of people that don't have hope. And I think today you're encouraging people to see that you can reach deeper. A medical doctor, and then switched, pivoted to art, and have done extremely well. But I see that you're not forgetting your career of medicine.
Yes.
You go every day today as a medical doctor.
Yeah, every day.
So tell us, how does that work? What's happening at the moment with medicine? We hear the hospitals are in disrepair. Nothing is working. You're at Parinetwa?
Yes, I'm at Parinetwa. So it's there is space for improvement in our health sector, absolutely. But things are not as bad as people make it seem. I really think the people that are in charge, whether it's the minister, the government, the CEO of the hospital, they actually mean good and want the health sector to improve. And I think we should just give them time and space to deliver on that. So my day usually starts at 8 a.m. I go to the hospital. I do my ward rounds. Usually around lunchtime I'm done. And then I go work on my art, work on my ideas, and so on, yeah. So
as art becomes a bigger part of your life and as it contributes the majority of your financial success, how are you going to balance that and still being a doctor?
Okay, so for me, there was a time when I thought, let me drop the medicine, and some people would randomly come say, why are you a doctor? Why are you studying medicine? But I think medicine or being a doctor is a very solid career, and I think it's necessary for you to have a stable source of income. And the art is more of like a passion, something I really, really love doing, which is on top of the medicine. And I think for me, the art will open the door for me as it is doing. And then once I'm in the room, I then say, oh, I'm a doctor, by the way. So I think the art is the gift that will make you meet great men, like the Bible says. Yeah.
Open doors for you.
Open doors for me. So it's something that I would do, I think, right throughout my life. I don't think I'll ever drop the art, nor the medicine.
That's great. Stay committed to medicine, because I was born in Boyanahanda, and last year I went to Paranetu. I hadn't been there for a decade more, and I was quite apprehensive of going in. But a friend of mine who works for government got really ill, and was on a dialysis machine this year. And I went back to see him, and I think he was in a private ward or semi-private ward, but it was really clean. I was surprised. The floors were clean, the room was clean, the beds were fine, and even there was machinery working. And in his case, he had one kidney left. The other one had been removed. And we prayed over him and blessed him. And the Lord heard our prayers and healed him. He's restored. He had actually cancer, what do you call pancreatic cancer.
Oh, wow.
And he's restored back to health. He's alive today to bear witness of God's goodness. But I just want to encourage you, don't give up. It's because of people like you that we still have a health sector. It's because of people like you who are committed to saving lives that people's lives in this country are being saved. But coming back to the point of the medicine and the art, give us a view of, let's say, project into the future. I believe in looking far ahead, right? You've heard of my strategic statement to 2050, 50 years. So where do you see yourself in 50 years? Where do you see yourself in 20 and 10?
Okay. I definitely plan on specializing. At first I thought I would probably lean to something surgical, but I've fallen in love with psychiatry, because a lot of my relatives, well, some of my relatives rather, suffered from psychiatric illnesses. And just working at Annex, where I'm currently working right now, which is a psychiatric unit at Paranetu, I've sort of seen and experienced the burden that the country has with the youth under 25s with drugs. And, to me, it touched me, because a lot of those people never recover. It's a lifelong journey to recovery. And to me, it sparked a passion or an interest to sort of focus on that and, bring my hands to the table, to fighting this pandemic, which it is.
So it's a mental illness?
Not really, but some people go into drugs because of an underlying mental illness. Some people start doing drugs and then eventually get a mental illness, because drugs actually do affect your thinking and your mental health.
And anxiety, depression, are these symptoms of those illnesses, or are they illnesses themselves?
Depression can be an illness in itself. Anxiety can be an illness in itself. It can just happen without a predisposing or a precipitating factor. Sometimes they can happen together. Sometimes they can happen, when you start taking drugs. Sometimes it can lead you to take drugs. So it's something I'm really interested in now. And I think probably starting next year sometime, I should be starting my journey to specialize in psychiatry.
So I wish we had more time to talk about this, because we've had the COVID-19 pandemic, we've had the whole pharmaceutical industry persuaded absolutely that vaccines were the solution. Now we're hearing that vaccines have caused so many other complications. What is your feeling on actual drug medication? How important is it in treatment of patients?
Okay. Medication works. And I think the vaccines worked. But like everything, even in general life, everything has its side effects. Everything has its disadvantages. And even more so with drugs. But then when you weigh the positive effects, if the positive effects of a drug outweigh the negative effects, then the drug is good, So that's my take. I think medication works. Definitely works.
But there is cause and effect.
Absolutely.
And there are side effects from it.
Yes, and a lot of the times, you need more than 5, 10, 15, 20 years to know the full picture of the side effects. Well, some of them take a long time to then surface, So I think with time, drugs are going to keep getting better and better. And it takes patience and,
I have an inert apprehension to taking medication. I will only take it under extreme circumstances and for a very short period of time.
So you're one of the bad patients. You should take your medication.
I don't listen, The doctor will come and say, you haven't taken your tablets. I'll say, I'll take them later, doc. So coming back to this idea of mind over matter, the metaphysical world, I always measure the glass as half full rather than half empty. And I believe that's about attitude, mindset in this country. I think the game changer for our country is people to change their minds.
Exactly.
And to have a different attitude towards life, and then everything changes, right? So coming back to one of the things that are medically linked is fear itself. And I often say fear is healthy, but panic is deadly. So tell us, what is your view medically of fear? Where does it come from? How do you deal with it? And what is your greatest fear?
Okay, I don't want to get into the medicine too much, but fear is as a result of neurotransmitters. We don't know whether you then feel fear because of the balance of neurotransmitters in your brain, or the fear itself then causes the neurotransmitters, to change their balance. So we still don't know, right? But I'm not an expert in that. But fight and flight, right? So the central neurotransmitter, and I'm getting too technical, is usually adrenaline. I'm sure you know adrenaline.
Yes, the adrenal gland.
Yes. That's
and some people have a lot of it, some people have a little bit.
Yes, from person to person, it's different, right? And coming to the question of what's my greatest fear, I think for me it would be to get to the end of my life and feel and think that I didn't live my purpose. I didn't live my life to my fullest potential. I think that's my greatest fear. So everything that I do, right, the art, the medicine, whatever it is, I always try and make sure that I give it my all. Because a lot of the times you then realize something is your purpose, probably in your 30s or even 40s. So that's my greatest fear.
Well, Keith and Ndlovu, I think you're doing very well. As a young man in your late 20s, I really believe that you're discovering your purpose and you're living your life to the full. So you have nothing to fear. In closing, we're coming to the closing.
I hope so.
We're coming to the close of the show. Give your listeners, the audience today, a message of encouragement, of hope, of inspiration, something from your heart. What would you want to say to the audience to close today?
Okay. So I think on a personal level, whatever it is that you're doing, do it to the best of your ability. Because you don't know where it will take you, and in the process, enjoy it, because you only be good at something that you enjoy. And a lot of the times enjoying something is a mental decision that you make, to enjoy something and work on it to the best of your ability. And be mindful of the company you keep. Always work on expanding your network, because they say your network is your net
worth.
Yes. And I think on a community and national level, be an ambassador of your community, of your country. I really resonate and believe in the messages that you preach, that you should speak good of your country, you should represent your country, whenever you have the opportunity to do so, because a lot of the times perspectives and what you say become a reality. So be an ambassador of your community and your country. I think that's it.
I love that. Be ambassador, project your reality, fulfill your purpose, and most importantly, your perspective becomes your reality. Having you today on the show, Dr. Keith Ndlovu, has been a privilege. Please, all you viewers, listeners out there, our followers, please share this post, and keep supporting us on the Phoenix Podcast. We commit to bringing you more people like Keith who are making a difference. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Faith, family, business, adventure. This is the Phoenix Podcast with Ken Sharpe.